There are times in your life, my darling child, when everything appears to be calm on the surface, but you are shaking inside for reasons you cannot fully comprehend. It feels like something unseen is stopping you every time you attempt to move forward, and that something is fear, not just any dread. This fear has been ingrained in your actions, relationships, and even your prayers. I have seen you attempt to combat it on your own, justify it as caution, and even verbally baptize it. That may sound sensible, but I am the one who created you in the hidden location and named you by name before time passed. I am speaking to you now with holy authority rather than rage or condemnation, and I am ending all of the fear patterns you have endured throughout your life. Have you not often been on the brink of change and felt the want to take a chance, believe again, love, and trust? But when the time came, something caught you with the what-ifs, the echoes of past hurts, and the faint implication that I did not make you, so it is better to not hope. You have mistaken this dread for knowledge, and you have developed whole systems to avoid pain. However, cherished fear does not protect you. Rather, it paralyzes you and traps you in cycles that feel familiar but unfree. This moment is not about shame, what you should have done, or how long you've been trapped. Rather, it's a confrontation of love that I am not disclosing. I made you for survival, for victory, for movement, and for fearless faith. I'm exposing it to liberate you from the fear of embarrassing you, because I can see what you can't. The series of events that starts in your mind, travels through your emotions, and shapes your choices. I can see how every attempt you make, the whisper of doubt that asks, what if it all falls apart again? When I accept obedience is not my voice. Rather, it is the remnant of old. Bites the wounds of unresolved trauma and the lies that accompany betrayal and loss. But my voice does not reverberate dread. Rather, it inspires courage, calm, clarity, and strength. You know, fear is a force that is not only a fleeting sensation. You didn't even realize you were agreeing with the spiritual stream that runs beneath the surface of many lives. But each time you said, I could never, that's not for me, or I'm not enough, you gave it more footing. I can see the tears beneath your strength, and I understand why you started to compress your dreams, silence your voice, and minimize your presence. Not because you were rebellious, but rather to protect yourself from failure. Observe the times you slept through the night, not out of disobedience, but out of fear of reliving the past. Now, I declare that I am entering the exact locations you attempted to conceal, not to condemn you, but to bring you my child. I'm not requesting that you become fearless when I stated that perfect love drives away fear, I wasn't giving you an order to follow. Rather, I was giving you a place to live. My love is not a notion. It is a force of will. I'm not demanding perfection. Rather, I'm inviting you into healing. You are now standing in the fire of my love, child, and your weapon is a flame that eats away at the roots of fear. You cannot be inactive in this time. You cannot partner with fear, and you cannot expect to walk in freedom. Will you let me into the deep areas you've avoided? The ones you've spiritualized, the ones where fear still speaks. You don't need to practice your faith in me for this. Failures once more, you don't have to relive the moments that betrayed your confidence, because I already know them. I was there, and I never abandoned you. However, I've come to halt the pattern, and the cycle ends here, because you weren't intended to live. When you were built in my image, filled with my spirit, characterized by courage, and destined for glory, you weren't made to shrink and hide under the impact of fear. Instead, I'm looking at you through the lens of your fears, you through the lens of your design, so pay close attention. I'm not just eliminating the fruit of your fear, I'm also tearing out its root. I'm reaching into your beliefs and beneath the surface of your behaviors, because once your belief system is healed, your life will. As you continue, you'll start to talk, walk, and dream differently. I'm giving your voice more confidence, strengthening your knees, and rekindling your spirit's vision. However, I'm breaking the pattern first. This is your moment of confrontation and emancipation. And even though you might not realize it, I've been talking to you for a while now, through interruptions, inner stirrings, and times when you didn't. To make sense to this day, despite your bewilderment, your doubts, and your feelings of inadequacy, I have never ceased speaking to you. I have whispered in your quiet, leaned in during your darkest moments, and patiently waited each time you turned inward. I have witnessed the burden you have carried with questions too great to bear alone, and I want you to know that I do not view you as a failure or a disappointment. Rather, I see you as someone who was attempting to survive without all the pieces. Someone who kept... There are things you've believed about yourself that never came from me, but that's how I view you. Through the lenses of love, destiny, and grace. Walking, despite open wounds, and someone who never gave up hope after loss. I call you cherished. I call you chosen. I call you. You wear labels that were never spoken by my spirit. You've internalized voices who ignored your growth, laughed at your progress, and solely pointed out your shortcomings. But my voice has always been different. I choose people because they are willing, not because they are perfect. I chose you before you even understood what that meant, before your first mistake, before your first heartbreak, before your first yes, and before your... First of all, no, I named you mine, and I'm not questioning my decision now. Your story is not a mistake, and your sensitivity is not a weakness. Your struggle with fear hasn't stopped you from following your calling. On the contrary, it has made you more reliant on me, and I value that more than you do. You never had to keep that from me because you felt you had to be strong for everyone else. But I know what has shaped you. The people who have left, the prayers you've whispered but never spoken, and the times when you've smiled on the outside but been crying on the inside. I've never been after your perfection. Instead, I've been after your presence. I've always wanted your honesty because I don't bless performance. Instead, I bless surrender. And I understand how difficult it has been to trust once more. I don't hate your defenses. I understand why you put them up. But I'm encouraging you to take them down, not by force, but by trust. Because I know how you created barriers that were wise, but were actually formed of fear. This isn't about going back to an outdated form of faith. Rather, it's about entering a deeper, more honest, and braver connection with me. I'm giving you the strength to open your heart again, and what I won't empower you to do. Where you walk every day with a sense of my closeness and my delight in you, rather than hiding behind routine or theology. You are exactly where you need to be to hear this. My timing is perfect. I don't haste. I don't worry. I don't compare your trip to anybody else's. And I have never once taken my eyes off of you. Not in your stillness, not in your defiance, not in your mess, and now I'm calling you back. Not to religion, but to a relationship. Not to work, but to receive. Not to work, but to give up. Now I'm kindly asking you to get closer. I'm not asking you to solve everything right away. I'm only asking that you allow me to take center stage once more. Let me enter the areas where fear formerly reigned. Let me touch the memories that still hurt. And let me ask the questions you're scared to ask without embarrassing you. My love does not run out. My patience does not run out. And my plans for you are still in place. I will not rush you. I will not ignore your sorrow. I will walk with you. I will stay with you. I will repair what was broken, and I will give life to what you thought was dead. I am awakening your spirit, and even as you read these words, something inside of you is stirring. It's me, and my spirit is working gently but forcefully within you. I missed your time, but you haven't disqualified yourself. I'm reminding you of who you are and whose you are. You are not a prisoner to fear. Your past defines you, and your mistakes add up to you. I love you too much to let fear to rule your life, so come on, simply. I am here, my dear, and I won't be leaving. I know you've wondered why there is pain, why there is waiting, why there are constant difficulties that seem to come up just when you need them. You believed that you were getting better, and you haven't been weak for asking questions. They don't disqualify you. If you let them, they would lure you into closeness. I've never been scared of you, so why don't I stop your sobs and don't ignore your... I am the God who hears, who sees, and who walks with you through the valley rather than just over the mountain. I want you to know that the suffering you endured was not in vain, that it was not a form of retribution, but rather, for my children, severe suffering is never the end, but it is frequently the starting point for insight. I did not inflict any of your wounds, but I have used them all. I have taken the betrayal and transformed it into wisdom. I have taken the quiet of... I've taken every rejection and murmured your value until you stop judging yourself by their absence. I've also taken into account the nights when your tears soaked the pillow and you wondered if anybody saw you. And I did, and every tear. I want you to see what I see. When you were crushed, I saw gold being made. When you were disappointed, I saw that not one of them had been wasted. Rather, they were seeds sown in pain, but destined to reap a harvest in strength. A greater ability to hope. When you were abandoned, I stood closer. And even though I didn't always save you from the process, I never abandoned you. You have to realize that pain is a revelation. It defines you, but it shows what you think, and I frequently let certain situations push against you, not to hurt you, but to expose the lies that needed to be exposed. You begged me to set you free, but freedom arrives. Ideas like, I'm unworthy, God has forgotten me, and nothing ever changes, are examples of hidden ideas that can be brought to light by confrontation rather than avoidance and sorrow. These beliefs were never from me, but they were buried so deeply that they had to come to the surface before they could be healed, which is why some of your most difficult times occurred immediately after you said yes to me. Light reveals what darkness attempted to conceal, so, my child, you are not being punished, rather you are being... Purification is about transformation, but punishment is about condemnation. The experiences you've had have improved your perspective, made your identity clear, and freed you from reliance on things that were never. Do you recall what I said in Hebrews 12? I've allowed the shaking because I wanted you to build upon what cannot be shaken. Now I'll shake the earth and the heavens, so that what cannot be shaken may stay. That's what I've been doing in your life. I've shaken everything that was based on pride, fear, or false security, not to break you, but to make you stronger. Now you're seeing what's left, what endures and what matters. Even the pain you couldn't. Explaining served a purpose when you felt alone. When you were misunderstood, I was teaching you how to find your affirmation in me. When you were ignored, I was demonstrating that my favor is not reliant on man's acknowledgement, bringing you into a closer relationship. It was never about surviving. Rather, it was about creating something in you that would last forever. Something that heaven knows even when the world doesn't. You see, I'm not building for the short term. I'm constructing you for legacy, influence, and glory. And the people I use most effectively are those who have let me mold them profoundly. I know you didn't choose the suffering, but you did choose to stick with me through it, and that, dearest, touches my heart. I want you to know that none of that was invisible to me. In fact, it was sacred, and that I witnessed you worship with a shattered heart, hear you pray when you weren't feeling me, and show up for others while you were bleeding silently. Because you allowed yourself to remain soft while the world tried to make you numb, you are stronger than you realize. That is the mark of my spirit in you, not merely because you have chosen to honor me at the expense of yourself, As we move forward, I want you to know that I am not trying to erase your past. Rather, I am redeeming it and turning every moment into a testament to my goodness, even if the enemy intended for it to be evil. I have survived while remaining vulnerable, open to love, truth, and healing. I'm changing for the better, and the tale you've lived, even the parts you wish you could skip, will serve as motivation for others to succeed. You'll speak authoritatively because you've survived the fire and emerged with me. And you'll bear the burden of honor, not because of what you avoided, but because. Considering everything you went through with me, I am only beginning. And everything that hurt will yield to the force of the healing I am now unleashing, my darling. You have not come through the valley in vain, journeyed through darkness and struggled with stillness, but you persisted. Now that I'm removing the curtain, I'm showing you what has been kept concealed in the waiting and what I've been working on behind the scenes while you stood, obediently, in places that felt. I was putting things in action while you were still in the season of stillness, which was never denial, but rather an incubation. This is the beginning of your unveiling, and it is not hype or emotional relief. Rather, it is divine fact. I was aligning promises while you were grieving, and I was arranging doors while you were asking questions. Now, let me state this plainly and without delay. The shift has already started, and the earth beneath your feet is moving, not unsteadily, but purposefully, as you are being positioned. You've asked for signs, not because you're trying, but because of my spirit, and even though you believed I was being silent, I've been enveloping you in confirmations, such as reoccurring dreams, strange conversations, and scriptures that kept popping into your head when you weren't even looking. They weren't coincidences. They were crumbs of my faithfulness that brought you to understanding. You've questioned whether you were reading too much into situations or whether you were just being emotional. But I need you to understand my spirit. I have been speaking, and I'm going to turn up the volume. What you're about to experience isn't just relief, but revelation, as I'm opening your eyes to see the connections, the divine timing, the orchestration that had been going on while you remained loyal with what little strength you had left. You didn't break your word or disqualify yourself. In fact, you're right on schedule. My timetable, not yours. And I don't run late. The silence was a tactic. The delay was protection. And the waiting was transformation. You are entering a time when a door that was previously locked will open, not only easily, but also authoritatively. You won't have to plead or prove yourself. You'll succeed because your heart, mind, and spirit are in sync with my timing. The promises I have made to you, if I listen closely, are not empty words. They have the weight of heaven. Just as my word does not come back to me empty, neither will my promises over your life, some of which will be quietly fulfilled. Others will suddenly burst forth, trembling every room you enter, but they will all arrive. I am not a man who should lie, and I am not constrained by circumstances or what seems impossible. If I say something, I will accomplish it. What appears to be ruins is actually the foundation for reconstructing what seemed to be an ending. Now is the moment to raise your eyes and take another look at the landscape of your life, not through the lens of fear, but through the lens of promise. Was merely the end of a chapter, not the entire book. You will start to observe minor changes, extraordinary favors, supernatural supply, and divine discussions. These are not coincidental. They are indications that the cloud is moving. Just as I led Israel with fire at night and cloud by day, now, follow the movement and have faith in the peace. If something seems forced, it's not me. But if you sense a silent affirmation in your soul even, I am guiding you not only to opportunities, but also to a deeper alignment with my heart. Because, more than merely making promises, I am making you a carrier of my promise. whose life demonstrates my faithfulness. If it doesn't make sense, yet lean in. This is also a period of repair, promises that felt like broken dreams, that seemed to be delayed, relationships that broke, and I am breathing over them again, without having to cry out, someone whose tale reflects my strength rather than your performance. Restoration is your part. I'm not only giving back what was lost, I'm also making up for the years it took to do it. Not everything will be restored the way you had hoped. Some things will return better, while others will be replaced with what really matches your destiny. Develop your strength, and I will now use my spirit to speed up what you once worked for in sweat. You will now have rest, but that doesn't mean you won't move. Rather, your actions will be guided by grace rather than fear, and peace will serve as your compass. Lift your head, beloved. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. You are on the verge of fulfillment, and I need you to believe once more, not just in the result, but in me, because as you obey, clarity will grow. I am not hiding from you. I am guiding you precisely. People will question how it happened, and you will respond that it was the hand of the God who keeps them, and I am keeping mine with you. You will witness it with your own eyes, and you will attest to both survival and redemption. Now that you are starting to see what I have planned for you, my darling, I need you to walk with me in a different way. The promises are not far away. They are here. The breakthrough is not coming. This is not just your turnaround, Lord. It's your becoming. Everything I have said will come to pass in its time. It's happening now, but in order for you to completely embrace it, your faith must transition from inspiration to alignment. Faith is more than just having confidence in your heart. It also involves living your life in accordance with your daily actions, which either strengthens or I'm calling you into a rhythm of purposeful faith, where every choice, thought, and habit is guided by your relationship with my promise, whether it materializes quickly or takes time. Becomes a part of the environment where my spirit can freely flow. You don't have to be flawless. All you need to do is be there, conscious and willing. Faith starts in the invisible, certainly, but it's demonstrated every day by the way you talk. Stop letting fear reign. Practicing defeat is a matter of life and death, and I have empowered you to proclaim my message into the world. When fear arises, express trust. When discouragement strikes, respond with the truth. Don't wait for feelings to align before acting. I did not give you a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and sound mind. You talk until your emotions start to match the truth you announce. It is not denial, it is dominion. This implies that your words must be in line with what I have previously said about you, not with what the outside world or your situation would have you say. I also want you to be mindful of your focus, because what you think about during meditation affects your beliefs. If you are focused on failure, you will be feeding your dread. You will gain serenity and confidence if you focus on me, my character, and my promises. For this reason, I have asked you to renew your mind every day, not with meaningless optimism, but with my live word. Feed on truth, and let it fill you with my words, not as a ceremony, but as a dialogue. When you open Scripture, I am there to unveil, highlight, and speak. Don't read it quickly. Instead, let it read, correct, soothe, and guide you. My word is your compass, your weapon, and your guide. Bread. You cannot survive on inspiration alone. You must eat every day. There will be days when you don't feel well. And when old thoughts resurface, that's not a sign of failure. Rather, it's a time to re-anchor. In those situations, remember what I stated earlier. Don't believe every emotion. I can handle your honesty. All I ask in return is your trust when I ask you to move and follow, even if you don't feel quite ready. Don't let dictators bring them to me. Instead, let me help you interpret them. Focuses on obedience in the face of ambiguity rather than ideal circumstances. As you obey, I will confirm, and as you act, I will align. You'll discover that the more you walk in trust, the more clarity will follow, activates your favor. And I'm also calling you into deeper communion prayer rhythms. Prayer isn't supposed to be sporadic. Rather, it should be continuous, not just in words, but in awareness. Talk to me throughout the day. Ask me to join you in your routine. And ask me where you want to spend your time, energy, and attention. Don't hesitate long enough to hear my responses. I want to be your first discussion, not your last resort. Let me help you make decisions about your relationships and schedule. Everything else falls into place when you start living with me as the center. Chaos loses control, clarity rises, peace deepens, and your spirit awakens. Don't undervalue small acts of obedience, like a phone call where I ask you to form a habit, or ask you to end a conversation. I look at your heart and respond to trust rather than scale. Your yes in the quiet can change things in the spiritual realm that you won't even notice at first. But remain consistent and honor me. The gift I place on your heart to offer these little moments are frequently the keys that unlock large doors. Constancy over intensity. It's not about doing more, but about being close. If you stay rooted, you won't be rattled. If you stay in me, you will yield abundant fruit. And finally, protect your surroundings, since you are entering a sacred space. I'm not asking you to seclusion, but to surround yourself with consecration. Don't expose your spirit to voices that undermine your faith. This is not the time for casual influences. Be careful about what you eat, who you confide in, and where you put your energy. People who bear my presence hear voices that uplift your soul rather than cause you concern. Live a life that values my closeness, and make time for me, not only in the morning, but also in your plans, choices, and downtime. I am not far away. You are not alone because I am genuinely committed in your journey, and I am guiding you every day with my word, my spirit, and my peace. This is how you move forward. Not by pressure, but by presence, not by force. You're not only believing for a promise, you're becoming the person who can bear it. As you walk with me day by day, you'll see that what was impossible is now your new normal. Not because you're trying hard, but because, before I talk about where you're going, my love, I must remind you of who you are. Not who you think you are, not who life has molded you into, and not what fear has attempted to convince you of. I'm bringing you back to the reality of your original creation, the identity that was established in my heart before time started. You are not bound by your past, by your failings, or by the judgments of others. You are mine, and what I put in you cannot be taken away by rejection or trauma. Every fiber of your being was made to carry my presence, display my glory, and walk in authority. The struggles you endured did not erase who you are. You were created with purpose, constructed with divine precision, and breathed into existence with intention. They've only strengthened the revelation.